Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel.
Hello.
Hello.
We are back. So thank you for your patience, guys. Literally only felt normal and better like yesterday. So I'm glad that's over. Could you imagine you guys show up to this podcast and it says the role of Michelle has been just
By
we
Johnny?
recasted me.
Amazing. Amazing.
Oh man, I hope you enjoyed that because that's about all the laughs you're gonna get. The rest is
Pretty
gonna be
much.
depressing. I have never in my life dread watched ever, like ever.
I know. It was so many times I had to like pause and just there's just so much that is affected. I am struggling to understand the big picture. This was probably the hardest it's been for me ever watching the show.
Affected. We're all affected. I love watching General Hospital, and for the first time ever,
Yeah.
I would like. I'm like actively procrastinating before turning it
Yes.
on. Like I'm literally like, okay, I have to watch because post about it. We're gonna talk about it. Like I'm literally moving in slow motion to make the episode go. Every scene, I'm like anxious. Like it gave me anxiety this week. Like I was unwell this week because of this storyline.
On top of physically being unwell.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. I don't even know. Like honestly, nothing else matters. So I think we're
Right?
just going to be talking
Oh,
about Sam and hopefully we'll
yes.
squeeze in all the other things that happened. So again, we have been because of like social media and just how everything is, all of us knew. So I think for a while now, all of us have been trying to find out how she would depart the show. I think we all thought at first that it could be like the diving for the gun that turned out to be like a
Yes.
bit of a fake out. Then we figured, well, for sure the transplant surgery, but then to our surprise, she survives the transplant.
And gets proposed to.
Okay. She did get engaged and she also said all the things I was thinking because when Dante proposes, so maybe there is a little bit of room for laughter and a couple of
Okay,
jokes.
okay.
So when Dante had proposed to her, the look on her face, I was like, is this a thank you proposal? And then when they kept
Right?
talking, she was like, it's okay if you still love her. And that's what I kind of loved about both of them. You know, they both came to the relationship with like a lot of history
Yes.
and their own stuff. And I mean, who better to understand your baggage than Sam? And so then at one point, the conversation between the two of them shifted, and then the proposal started out as like a thank you. And then it felt like a bit of an I'm sorry. And then it
Yeah.
felt like a little guilt attached. But once he put words to it, I think it helped to to truly capture what he was really feeling. But yeah, like this was pretty heavy for Dante himself, having gone through this whole thing the past few weeks.
Yes. Like, there's that scene he has with Sunny just kind of replaying how much time he spent with her. And the most time they've spent together is this guilty, I'm sorry, I love you proposal.
It was pretty rough. Like it was pretty rough. So like not only does she survive, I'm not going to lie. There was a part of me that was like maybe this is a fake out and
Right?
Lulu's just dead. I was hoping, I'm not going to lie. My fingers were crossed there because okay, it's true cuz we did podcast last week. So a couple of thoughts that I had is just like when everybody wouldn't stop like boasting about like Lulu and being like she's so strong, she's so this, and they were like talking about her. I was like, yeah, she's so strong, but she couldn't wake from the coma. Like, you know, like how hard has she tried to wake up? She hasn't. In fact, she's doing so badly at it that like she needs a transplant. And part of me is like, how is that not sign enough?
Right?
And I know a lot of people are caught up in a couple of like logistics
Okay.
issues, like the fact that like they're doing this transplant when there's like a reason someone like Lulu wouldn't be on a transplant list.
Yes, exactly.
And like even with the the surrogacy, right? Remember early on they said a surrogate needs to have had a baby before.
Yes.
So maybe they understand what it's like to have a baby. and,
I
and
wonder why
you
that rule
know,
is in place.
anyways. So not only does Sam survive this and like all the time where Sam was like alive and living, I just kept not gonna lie, like just throwing stones at Lulu in my house. Just being like, is this
Yes.
necessary? Like, I'm sorry, but Sam's like life and character on the show was not worth something that was sleeping and that we all already processed. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When Lulu got like blown up and she
Mhm.
like passed out and they rolled her into the elevator, I personally wasn't fully processing what happened. Like, I
Yes,
was
no,
like,
fair.
she's leaving, or she's just going to this elevator. But at least with that, there was some consolation because it was like, yeah, it sucked not having the actress Emmy Rylan on the show. But with Lulu's tragedy, it was like, she's in a coma. We all know she'll come back eventually.
Yes.
Um, so I felt like I handled that a lot better. This was not worth it. And I understand like some of the
No.
rationale was that like it would give us a lot of story. I'm like, do you know what also would give a lot of story? Writing story. Like just writing more pages,
Just
writing more story, you know? That also would do the trick. If you needed more things to tell, write it and tell it and make it interesting. Like this concept of like we need to do this death to like shake things up. Wouldn't that make
Ugh.
sense if things were like stable and you're like, oh my
Exactly.
god? But we've been here, done that. Like we already had like a younger person die, like when Brit died. But the thing about Brit is she was on the show for maybe like I think between 7 and 9 years, something like that.
Yes.
And she got like memorialized on the show. She's become like really ingrained, but she got a say in her departure, right? She made the
Yes.
choice to leave and that whole thing happened. And it's just in a show where there's been countless like real life loss that
Yes.
unfortunately some of the times were coincided with like fictional losses, and that's delicate, you know,
Of course.
like in such a short period of time we're handling funerals on the show for like a real person and character, and then another character who's like just the character at the same time. You know, it was so much. And then all the changes, the idea that we needed to like shake things up or that it would give us more story, it's like, no, it's been so unstable. Like we didn't need that. We needed story. Like I didn't need for Jason to suddenly have depth now. How long has he
Right?
been back? How long has he been back? You literally left him on ice, then threw us this bizarre Jason Anna storyline on a
Yeah.
hunt for Lucky that was utterly useless. And then there was a point last week where I didn't even know if Lucky left. All of a sudden, Isaiah's in the hospital and no one's heard from Lucky. And they're like, I don't know, maybe he skipped town. And I'm like, are you kidding me with this crap? Did you actually just bring Lucky back just to give us Isaiah and then he disappeared? He reappears a little later, but it's just like, there's just so much comings and goings, and I'm just really annoyed. Like I just feel like, again, I don't really know exactly what happened behind the scenes, but clearly like there's, political elements behind the scenes that probably fed into this. I just don't believe it's 100% to tell a story. Mind you, I
No.
have personal feelings about it. Like I'm just mad. Like I'm mad.
Yes, I have a lot of personal feelings very much along the same lines as you. And it was really hard to watch it all unfold. And I I think the hardest part for me, and I kind of, well, there was a lot of hard parts, but one of the things that I struggled with was imagine you're like leaving your job,
Oh my
regular
gosh.
office work,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're just like sitting there and
Yeah.
everybody's saying all these great things about you, but
Yeah.
you like got let go. And it's just like a revolving door of like how awesome you are. And like you have to just keep a straight face and carry on with whatever it is that's happening in front of you. Like I didn't know how to take that. Like we've never actually had scenes like that where the dead body is like just there and people are like coming in to
For
discuss
that
things and
long.
talk. Yes.
Because Johnny, his take was like, I feel like she must have been holding back tears. Like, how are you? Like,
Yeah.
this
Oh my
has
gosh.
to be like
Right.
upsetting, and you have to sit and tolerate
Yes.
all of this. But it's not just like the memorializing of her, like those scenes where she's actually there. You went out of your way to kind of tear down her character, right? Like, you like the way she was written, the
Hmm.
less time on her, like there was so much there. I love the Sam Dante family.
Oh
I
yes.
love their stability. They were so fun, and you could have put more there. And so you do that in a way where you write her in a way that like waters her down. And then for the rest of the week, we're hearing everybody talk about how amazing this
Yes.
character was. You're like, huh, interesting. Why not use that? Like, oh, I mean, look, the timing of this is awful.
Awful. So flippin' awful.
It's so awful in so many ways. I would have said that for like Gregory too, right? Even though we were
Oh
prepared
yes.
for Gregory's loss, I'm
Oh,
like,
it was the
this timing
worst.
was terrible, guys. And then it just with the Finn storyline, and then Violet, and then like Marshall, that's like temporary. And then the way scenes were going with Cody, it feels like they're setting him up to leave.
Yup. Hmm.
um it's just been a lot. Like there is a part of me, a very small part of me, that's like, yeah, like this affects a lot of people, and there's like an insane amount of story with this, but I feel like it's so hard to appreciate in the context of it all. There's just been so much going on that I'm kind of like, sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's loss. Let's do a bigger loss so you forget about all the chaotic tinier losses. You know what I mean?
Like, okay, and here's the thing. We're both mothers.
Yeah.
We, as every human, we've experienced loss and just watched I know it's not real, but watching, like thinking about the kid characters and like what do they have to channel for this scene? And then how do their characters evolve? And where do these like everything was just so depressing. Like I agree, and we have talked about this so many times that it would have been so interesting to see what it would have been like. A Lulu, similar to Anina, wakes up, her time, she is stuck in time, and everything else has changed. It would have been so entertaining. There would have been funny moments, frustrating moments. There was so much story already.
That's exactly it. And so again, I just feel like it was a choice they made, right? You could have gone either way, and of course you
Yeah.
could have like written the crap out of it and made it whatever you wanted it to be. But at the same time, I do recognize, like, I mean, it's hard to experience, but it's because it is a soap opera and we watch it every day and we're
Yes.
connected to the characters in a different way. So that's why it's hard. We're all angry because we don't want to feel a loss. And that's the thing. We do feel it watching the show. And throughout the years, and with every like actual death or certain storylines, there's always an emotional connection with the audience, right? Because it's like when they're mourning, we're mourning. And so it's so difficult because it's way too experiential. Like a lot of us are angry like on the surface over it, but then living it, it's really hard for all of us because we're forced to experience it. Like we're forced to experience loss and grief and our own stuff every time these sort of things happen. And the way that they're doing it, as much as I just don't like it.
Hmm.
I have to admit, I was feeling, especially with the fact that like Alexis and Jason were there. I didn't know what to think about that at first. I was
Hmm.
honestly, I was breaking knowing that Dante was away and this was happening.
Yes.
But I also respected it. It felt weird at first that Jason was there and Alexis was there, but you understand, right? They
Of
basically took
course.
the most important people in this
In her
character's
life.
life and kept
Hmm.
them there. Um, and they spent a lot of time, like they did a whole episode of just Alexis and just Jason, and then
Yeah.
they cleared them out, and then they made space for like her new life, her future. So you had Jason there as her past, and then you had Dante there, that was her future. Because it's kind of like so many things could be true at once. And when Jason was there and they acknowledged their relationship, again, we've talked about this on the show. I do feel like their romance was over, like in the place where they
Oh
were at this
yeah.
moment. Again,
Hmm.
if the show continued on and they found a way back to each other, they found a way back to each other. But as it was being presented, they had grown out of their relationship. But it doesn't
Yes.
mean that that is any less valuable or any less significant. And I just really felt for the hardcore Jason Sam fans who you
Right.
have Jason come back, barely scenes together. Like to be honest, Jason was barely used since he's been
Oh
back.
yeah.
And so then all of a sudden they're finally getting the acknowledgement of the history. Because even for me, like even though I felt like romantically these people, this was not going to happen in the immediate future, I
Hmm.
was still sort of like, okay, but why aren't they fighting more at least? Like, even if they're
Right.
fighting, how come they're not in scenes more fighting? How come Sam doesn't get a chance to process with him coming back and what it means? Like, why? Like, that too, we talked about that. That was story.
Yes.
Sam just processing him and everything, her whole life. Like, I just thought that was ridiculous. There was a few things that I didn't really like. It happened last
Mhm.
week, but like, I know that Sam was angry and then they tried to undo that at the tail end, or they
Mhm.
were like, Jason, be all that you can be. I was like, no. And the way she was with, because again, package deal, right? So she was mad at Jason and mad at Carly, but I was actually really upset because I found that the female friendships had come a long way on the show, and I felt like they
Absolutely.
did a really good job of like having the women's friendships stand on their own and stop being so defined by a man. And I find
Yes.
like that Carly and Elizabeth worked through their stuff, because at the end of the day, Jason was always a factor in why these women weren't closer.
Hmm.
And like, we talked about for a long time, Sam and Carly had this sibling relationship. We even talked about like how there was a sibling thing between like Sam, Carly, and Spinelli, this like
Yes.
little pretend sibling trio. And they found their own relationship, and we watched them actively support each other. And I really found it disappointing how they disrespected the progress that those two characters made. So again, Sam was super angry, but then like there was friction with Carly. And the week that we didn't record, one of those 2 weeks, there was a lot of like the goodbye parade, like before her surgery, like her meeting
Yes.
people.
Yes.
I could not have been more disgusted and disappointed with the Carly Sam scene.
I
Because
know.
like, this is the end, right? This is the end.
Yes.
Like, the character is leaving the show. We know she's gonna die. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I know that they kept changing course, but I
Hmm.
truly did not like in those moments how like Sam was kind of like going at Carly, because that's not where they landed. It was not where they
Exactly.
landed. It was sort of like they progressed, everything was great. Then they're like, hey, let's go back in time and bring back that like animosity randomly. Let's throw it in there. And I just found it was such a disrespect to like their journey and what they were able to overcome together. And so I found that scene, like, Carly stays like kind of calm, she doesn't react, but I found it really rough and a little jarring. And I'm like,
Yes.
seriously, this is their last conversation? This is not where they were. This is not their relationship. This is not a reflection of these two women. And they were tearing that down like months before that.
Yes, absolutely. And it was so frustrating to
I
watch.
don't like that depiction. Oh, Jason comes back and all of a sudden they can't support each other. Like, that's BS. I didn't like that at all.
Hmm.
So I know we're stalling. We're stalling because we don't want to talk about it. We talked about the happy parts of Dante proposing. And so we're just happy she's surviving this. Then we see her with Alexis, and I saw her like hiding her hand, like in the blanket, like Alexis
Yes.
couldn't see, talking about her glowing. And then it's out that she's engaged. So I was actually super caught off guard, which is the
Okay.
intent, obviously, that that's
Yes, of
how it
course.
happened, right? Because
Yes.
we've been counting down. We're looking for this big, big, big moment.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, because they didn't even show us, it's not like they showed us Alexis and Sam and it took a turn. Because with Brando, they sort of did that, right? They kind of faked this
Yes.
out. So with Brando's character, he gets operated, he's okay at one point, and then there's this complication, but it happens and we see it. So in
Yes.
this instance, it was done quite differently. So there's Alexis and Sam, and they leave us with everything being fine. And then what they do is they put the chaos in the background. So they put
Hmm.
Jason with Scout and Danny. What I think is interesting is that they gave Jason the scenes of telling Scout.
Yes.
I don't
Why
know
do you?
what that's about, but I'm like, you tell Drew. Drew's all like, "Where's my daughter?" He's not racing to
No.
Bobby's.
Okay.
I
So
was
do we
just like,
think?
okay.
Because I'm like, okay, this whole like portrayal of Drew being this like true quartermain and like dealing with life in a selfish manner, because the old Drew would drop out of the race, take care of his daughter. But I really do think the reason is because Jason's gonna we're gonna see, hopefully, is
Yes.
what I want to say, a different side to Jason, and that he's gonna take care of a little girl, which is like so not what he knows anything about. And hopefully there'll be some good stuff there with the three of them together as a little family, and they'll have to get an actual apartment with different rooms.
Well, yeah, because like Jason actually was with Sam like for real. Like with Drew, it was like for half the time or for I don't know how long he was like Jason. You know, understand? Like that's really
Yes,
messed up.
yes.
But I just think it speaks to maybe the role they're gonna put Jason in when it
Yes, of
comes to
course.
Scout. But I feel like it was also a choice, I feel, of who they were highlighting in a way. And yes, I
Hmm.
do think it has to do with somewhat of the trajectory they're putting Drew on. Like to me, it's a bit weird because I understand that Drew's doing really messed up things with Nina and obviously with Willow, but
Hmm.
he's not a terrible guy. You know what
No,
I mean?
he's
Like, and
not.
so I find the way that they're doing it this past week is like, oh, like they're like with Ned, and like she's like, oh, this horrible guy. Like Tracy's like, yeah, like he's
I was so
just,
confused.
and I'm like, it's not wholly true. Like even Drew now, he's still not like tedding it up, you know? Like
Exactly.
Ned's capable of being a Ted, but even with all this, it still doesn't even reach Tedly levels.
Right?
So I'm like, I think everyone can calm down a little bit. Like even Cody's perspective
Oh
of
my
Drew. Like
gosh.
part of
That's
me,
a
I'm just
lot.
like, I'm kind of tired of your man tantrum. Okay. Boo
Right?
hoo. I'm so sorry you're doing your first cousin. Or you didn't. Well, you didn't. You should be thankful, actually. Right? Hashtag grateful. We didn't go past kissing
Praying
cousins.
emoji.
But like this whole obsession with Drew, like it's a little annoying.
Yeah, yeah, very annoying. Very annoying.
So going back to something difficult. So this is terrible. So anybody listening is going to notice that every time it gets hard, we're just going to go far off into like stuff that we think is ridiculous. Ah! So that is what I thought was like it was an interesting experience watching that, right? So now
Yes.
Jason is there with the kids. So they're making it bad, right? They're painting a picture of a future. They're sharing a happy moment. We're looking at the kids' expectation of like my mom is going to be fine. And
Hmm.
in the background, we see Alexis run out and doctors go in. That is interesting to me. That is like not something I've really seen been done.
Yes, true. Not very typical.
So that was really jarring to experience. And Sam's brother
Oh my
did his
word.
best to revive her. Like this it was just intense. I'm just like, I don't know how Elizabeth's doing this. Like, I don't know how
Right?
Elizabeth's doing this. Like, I understand like Lucas is like her brother, but it's just like, again, Elizabeth, Sam, and Carly have actually shared so much more time, events,
Yeah.
and history more than like they may not have liked each other, but they've actually had way more shared history
They grew
than
up
like other
together.
people. So I just
Mhm.
couldn't even understand how like Elizabeth, like I was actually feeling for Elizabeth in this moment and in awe of her because it's like they're kids. She knows who Sam is and she did her best and she kept it together and she stayed silent when they walked out and she kept staring at Jason and she was prepared to be as solid as she could be for him.
Which I love because Jason is always the solid one. And it
Mhm.
was so lovely to see not just anybody, but Elizabeth be strong for him.
Yeah. I mean, again, it shows how far she's come. But the thing is, what was scary is that while they were waiting, I'm like, it's scary when like they're waiting to hear word and Jason looks freaked out.
Right? That really scared me. And he was like frozen, like the scene,
Yeah.
like everything was moving, but his arms were frozen in the air.
Yeah. So like when Alexis finds out, it was pretty bad, again in
Mm.
denial. And then when she went into the room, it was hard to see.
Oh my gosh. Her scene was like so much crying, so much, so many feelings this week.
It
It was a lot.
it was horrible. And like when Portia came in when she asked for a blanket, I was like, honestly, Portia, you're like obsessed with Trina. Okay,
Right?
it's all you could think about. You use it to justify everything you do, and you can't just shut your trap and get this woman a blanket.
I know. That's what I
Like
yelled at
give
the
it a
TV. Like,
moment.
get her a damn blanket.
Oh, and then like when Alexis just starts her dialogue talking to God saying like the
Mhm.
universe has given like that. I love that line when they said the universe gifted you to me twice.
Yeah.
And then when she screamed like I hate you with like how could you not relate to a moment like that
Oh my God, right?
when she crawled into bed with her. I knew that was
Oh
going
my
to
God, I
happen
can't.
because when they showed Sam, they kept going in this like aerial type view and she wasn't centered in the bed. So I'm like, okay, something's happening. in this scene.
Yeah.
That's what, again, I was paying attention to anything but
I
what was
know.
going
Like,
on. I'm
oh
like,
my god.
oh, so she's not centered in the bed. She's dead, but she's not
Logistics
centered
corner.
in the bed. Okay, what's that gonna mean? Okay, like it was just too much. But at the very least, I felt you owe her that though. Like I
Yes,
was
I
like, at the
agree.
very least, you're actually like not sensationalizing it where it's like it's the rumors are running rampant and there's these big reactions, but that you actually slowed it down and made
Mhm.
it as realistic as possible and gave all that time for Alexis to like go through it. That to me felt
Mhm.
very real. And then with Jason, I think I was panicked because, like you pointed out, he's always solid and he couldn't even look at her. Like he looked, I've never
Yeah.
really seen him like scared, and
Mhm.
he could barely get himself into the room.
It's like I feel the emotions all over again. It's so bad.
And so I just thought that was intense because, again, like, yes, they were fighting and yes, they were at odds the past few months. And when you're at odds and living your day to day life, you're not going to sit there and think deeply about how significant this person is to you. But
Yes.
with it over, with her gone, he sits there and kind of now has to like take a sec and think about how significant this person was to him.
What did you think of those flashback scenes? I know you did a post on it. There was so much there, and they were just tiny little babies when they were on the show.
I mean, obviously the montage killed me because it's all that stuff that makes it more real. So getting a
Yes.
montage made it real. And again, it to me it just hammered in like, but that's the thing though. If you keep swapping out all these characters and doing everything you're doing, how are you ever going to have flashbacks in the future? Like again,
Right?
not that I didn't want to see anything else today other than like Sam. And then I'm getting like these Holly, Robert, but
Oh,
every time
so
they're
much,
together,
so
they flash
much.
back, or with Lucky, they flash back. If you keep doing this, when will you ever have a flashback? When can you
No,
ever
it's
have
very
a
true.
memory? You know? And so, yeah, so that's something that occurred to me. And also to me cemented the need to use Jason because she was there for 20 years and he was such a big part of it. So it's like you can't leave that unacknowledged, but I can't believe or can't imagine how bittersweet that was for fans who are like, you finally gave us something homey and familiar about the two of them.
Exactly. And there's so much.
So like for me, I think I felt like when I recorded the montage and I posted it, I like at first I was like, "Ugh, I don't know because I don't want to make this about Jason. Like I understand that her death
Mhm.
shifts his character and shifts everything. And I mean, for that, I was trying to focus on her. I know it was about a journey of her and Jason, and he was a big
Yes.
part of her life, and that you can't take that away, right? They're just part of each other. But when I was recording it and figuring out like what picture to put, at first it was them two, but then I'm like, no, I don't want to take away from this. Yes, it was a
Yeah.
celebration in the end of that relationship and that like royal couple, but I also wanted it to just be about Sam and like what her character's journey on the show. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it was definitely tough to watch, and just the complexities of it all. Like even watching Rocco, um
Yes.
him, because like I'm like that's gonna mess a kid up. Like I'm
Oh
sorry,
yeah,
he's
big
a
time.
kid. How is this kid not gonna carry the guilt of his jealousy, his envy, or his, and including like the initial reaction he had when Dante said he was proposing?
Yes.
So I mean, and what's going to happen because they finally said, why does their mom get to live and why did ours have to die when it was Danny and Scout?
Gosh,
Dante
like
talked about how like Sam brought them back to life and brought
yep.
color back. What's going to happen now? Like they all lived in a house together. What's going to happen? Like right now all the kids are staying at the Quartermains. How are the kids going to deal with it? What is the scene going to be like when Rocco faces Danny?
Oh my.
Like, are you gonna bring back Jake for this? Like, Jake was at odds with Danny. I think he should be here to support Danny in this.
Yes.
And what's gonna happen to that house? You know, it was Jason's house, then it was Sam's house, and Dante moved in. Like, what is gonna happen to that family? It's completely shattered.
I know. Oh, I'm so angry.
And like at the end, when like Jason goes to Danny, I'll be there for you. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're all he has.
Exactly.
You don't get
Exactly.
to be
No
the
more
part-time dad
adventures.
anymore, you know?
Exactly.
Like this whole, because like right now he's dropping him at the Quartermains. I mean, that will always be like the second home to like any kid in Port Charles at this point, especially like for Danny. But like, yeah, what now?
You can't run off on your silly little adventures with Anna or whatever the heck you do.
Ugh. And the whole thing about when he said, I always thought you would outlive me.
Oh my word. Hmm.
It's just so unreal. And then like I can't explain to you how annoying it is, the whole Molly Christina thing. And
Yeah.
for like many reasons actually. I'm I'm annoyed because this was a big storyline for Christina and Molly.
Yes.
And I don't appreciate having this bomb thrown in. I understand that a loss like this can bring them together, but I also felt
Hmm.
that they were both justified in having these feelings. Like again,
Yes.
I do think that Molly is doing a lot to instigate stuff. She has a
Yes,
lot of
absolutely.
anger, but it doesn't mean you have to act on it. Like if you have anger and feelings that belongs to you and you can process that, but she's contributing to things and it's gross.
Hmm.
And I understand that they need each other and family is important, but like why I don't like the idea that this is being brushed under the rug. Yes, they're not getting along. Yes, they're being ridiculous. Okay, but at what point is Molly gonna like face her grief, but also her contribution to the negativity in that dynamic? At what point, is it like are those girls going to find their place? Because it's like she's in those scenes making Christina feel guilty that you didn't read an email. Like no, who does that? Like that's
Who
not
does that?
normal. Like Molly is going out of her way to make her feel less than. So it's sort of like I want those girls to find their own way, but I certainly don't want this to be the band-aid. Oh, death can happen, so let's sweep it all under the rug. Like I don't like it. Like I just don't like the loss on top of loss. Like they already have a lot going on, and it's been hard to even
Hmm.
watch what Christina and Molly have been going through. And then this, like, I understand life happens, and yes, it's all plausible. Anything can be right because that's life. But I just don't, I don't like that story didn't get to kind of like run its course. Like, I feel like they dropped it.
Well, yeah, it didn't get to play out. So, exactly like what you're saying. Like, if you want stories to happen, write the stories and follow them through. Like, let's see these characters go through what they need to go through. That's what's always made GH so great. It's
Like,
tackling those different types of stories.
and I find with the girls what they did, like even like a week or two before. So like how Sam walked out on both of them. It's like
Yes.
and it was becoming annoying. They're like, "Oh, you guys are just becoming annoying," and it was right. They're bickering, but why did you turn it into that?
Hmm.
Why did you take these very big
Something so deep.
traumatic issues and turn it in to bickering? So they didn't really give attention. Like once Kate's died,
Hmm.
the story died.
So true.
And so, like, given the whole Sam thing, are we actually going to have to watch a trial now? Like, it just feels gross. It's kind of like watching the way Kate's was abusing Christina. That it
Yes.
feels that same level of gross. If Sam dies, and very within this same time frame, we have to watch this trial
Oh my God.
and
Pointless trial.
watch the girls go at each other. Like, I don't know. So I also don't really like it for the Davis girls right now. I don't like it.
I agree. I don't like it for a lot of people right now.
This is weird. We never not like this many things.
I know.
Can we just call it one thing? We just don't like this whole Sam thing. And it's just, and these are all dislikes that go under the same umbrella. It's just been really rough and gross. And I just, I can't, I can't, I can't.
I can't.
And then when Dante finds out, he hears
Oh
it in
my
the way that
word.
he did,
Oh my word.
and the guilt that man will hold.
Oh, forever. Forever.
And when he says like I spent all this time with Lulu, and like when I told her
Hmm.
I needed to find a solution, like she did it for me and Rocco. But like I'm starting to wonder if there's just some kind of weird GH murderer on the loose, like who's running around tampering with machines. I also think that they're
Oh,
making that
right.
implication too. Like I don't know if Sam's like heart issue, because they said we're gonna do an investigation. I don't really know if it's really just a heart issue.
That's true. Okay. Okay.
But again, where is this coming from? You know, like
Yeah.
we've got some guy who's in Miami. We got Sidwell. We got
Yes.
Holly, who's randomly Sasha's mother. Whatever. There's like a million different things going on, and now we're like, there's some kind of weird hospital messer upper trying to
Or,
kill randos,
yeah.
specifically Lulu and Sam. What?
Yeah.
Why? Why? With all this happening, I'm kind of glad Sasha and Michael slept together.
Oh my gosh. You know what? The only thing I was like, Like, okay, there's the replacement Michael for the news. I'm like, I hope real Michael at least gets to have the fun part.
Oh, I can't
And
even
he
laugh.
did.
It's not even real laugh what I just did. I'm just so depressed. I'm just so depressed. Okay, so the Michael Willow, this bizarre. Okay, this
Oh
storyline
my
is
word.
beyond bizarre. It's beyond
Yes,
bizarre.
so
So
bizarre.
Cody is like, "Oh no, we're first cousins." You know what my favorite line is?
What?
It's from Mac. He's like, "Running away won't make you any less related." I'm like, that is literally what I was thinking. 100 what I was thinking. So, so so he's angry. He's like, I've been kissing my first cousin. And then he's like, I hate you, Drew. You're kissing your nephew's wife and you're banging his mom. The thing is, that video was sent to Ned and Tracy. Did you not catch the part about Nina?
I know, right?
So everyone's like, ooh, kissed Michael's wife. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty bad, but when you put it together, it's 10 times worse. And I loved how like Nina covered her face. I'm like, yeah, it does sound really bad. I know. I don't know what you've been telling yourself, but yeah, that's exactly how it sounds. 100%. And so then it's like scrambling to fix this. And she runs to Willow. And that was beyond when she was saying, I gave you the wrong advice. You should be honest with Michael. But the point is, everyone is scrambling to get the truth out and to minimize damage because like this happened in public and it could get out. So that's why when Willow told Drew, like, I don't know why you went to go tell Michael. The same reason you went to tell Michael, because Nina told you what happened. And I don't know if you remember from the story, but it happened to Drew. The story was about Drew, the punch, and the Cody. So same reason, same reason. And then the best was Nina's face when she was like the second kiss. She's like, there was a second kiss.
I know. I could not.
I mean, to be honest, I thought it was pretty cool that Drew just did not allow them to blackmail him. Like, are you serious? Like, I was just like, this guy lost 2 years of his life. He
Yeah.
lost years away from his daughter. Then he was actually imprisoned. He almost died. And now you want to create this prison where he can't live freely because you decided he's a terrible person? What?
It was
Like,
so
is there
weird.
zero compassion for Drew's narrative, like for his his like journey on the show? Like, what does it matter with you people? And so I like that he turned around. It's like, I have something to tell you. And I love Nina's face because it's the face of a person who knows that Drew's not telling the full truth and that there were multiple kisses.
Yep.
And it was even funnier when Sasha let it out.
I know.
It was the best for me. Like that made my week, to be honest. And like it obviously wasn't for nothing. For like months they've been doing these weird Michael Sasha scenes,
Yes.
okay? And I've never heard so much appreciation for like their little tryst, right? So it's so funny because it didn't even occur to me when Sasha was at that bar. The only thing that occurred to me was this doesn't not make any sense that everyone's going to this bar. Where's Charlie's pub? And so at this point, when she's there, I remember taking a picture of her at the bar because I'm like, bring back Charlie's pub. Why is
So
everyone going
funny.
here? It doesn't make sense. It's supposed to be some like biker criminal bar. And everyone
Right?
just goes there. Like, oh, like Molly goes there. Dex goes there. It's like,
Well,
no,
it's the shady bar. It's like where you want to go to not bump into anybody, but people still go there.
everybody goes there. Everybody. And so then like Michael ends up there. So that's the thing. That's the thing. We see Sasha, then we see her in bed. And I remember when I saw the preview that she ends up in bed with someone, like no part of me was like, oh, it's Michael. I'm like, I don't I don't know who she sleep with. I'm like, who's on the show? I actually thought it was Rick.
Exactly.
I thought it was Rick, and then it was Michael, and I was like, "This is so good." But the amount of like, I'm glad it was you. Like, I cheated on my
I
wife.
know.
I cheated on my first cousin, and
Let's
then,
not tell anybody, guys, but we like low key love each other and
but
respect
like,
each other.
it was just so silly, right? Because they did this wrong thing, but they're like, "I'm so glad I was with you. Like, I trust you. Like, we have history. This was so familiar. It was nice. It was like a cozy teddy." And I'm like, what? I'm like, wow, you guys really know how to process a mistake. Like,
Well, it's like they already did it before. They kind of like were doing some weird backwards sex math. Like, well, we did it before, so like it really doesn't count as something new.
Oh my god, but it's hilarious how they're sitting there having a conversation, and Sasha's like, Willow's my best friend, and
I just like I wish that Drew and Willow like actually did it because then she could like feel bad for something real.
I
Because Michael's hiding a
know.
big secret and she's hiding a second kiss secret, and you're like, and obviously we know that Sasha's gonna get pregnant.
Oh no, I didn't know. I didn't know. Um,
That's what
but
I feel, anyways, because it's like they were
you feel the
drunk,
pregnancy coming on. It would make sense, right? Because he's with Willow. He's like, I slept with your half sister. I slept
right?
with your twin sister. And I slept with a girl you consider your sister. I think Willow should just stop making friends. I think she should stop being related to
Stop
people
making
and
friends
be
and
okay.
mothers because they just keep sleeping with people that she likes.
Oh man. Oh man. Cause like to be honest, this is one of those times where I feel like 2 kisses does equal sex. It's the same. Like to me, I'm like samesies. I'm like, honestly, Michael, do you? I think it's the same. I think it's the same. The
I like
first
that math. Okay.
because it's like it's really bad the choices she's making. Like how many times did he give her the opportunity? Like literally she got mad at Drew. She's like, you told me not to tell. And then she's like, you're telling me not to do it again. Oh, I guess I should just like repeat my mistake of like 2 seconds ago. It was so stupid. It's
It
like
was
if you wanted any
ridiculous.
chance of saving your marriage, then you hash it all out now. Like you gave him
Exactly.
crap for like I forget what secret that he kept. He kept a secret
Yes, he
about
did.
Nina. Whatever. She was like, you're not being super honest. I'm like, you suck. But you know what they're doing too? Because when Tracy was talking about Michael, she likened him to Edward and they made it really real, right? Because like Willow embodies the Lila,
Yes.
Michael, his ruthlessness, but baby face. So they really are carrying on the Quartermain tradition with all of the infidelity.
It
So
was
they
my
did it.
favorite line. They totally did it. And one of my favorite lines is I'm pretty sure it was Tracy is behind that baby face lies the soul of a shark.
I love that because that is who his
Yes.
character is. And just so many lies. Like when Michael was like, the second one was a choice, and he goes, "Who kissed who first?" And I'm answering for him like, "It was you. It was you." And then she's like, "I don't
um,
remember." I'm like, "BS, you don't remember? Do you have any flashbacks we had to watch of that? Are you
I
serious with me right now?" And it meant nothing, really, because for the last few months I had to hear about how it meant everything to you. What?
I I thought about you because the fireworks were brought up as a very important part of that story.
I know. I was like, I'm like, am I actually going to hear them say I was blinded by the fireworks and fell in his face? Like, what were you going to say? I was mesmerized. But like, yes, they did bring it up that the fireworks were there. And it was about my, I'm like looking at Johnny. I'm like, yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. I had a couple of drinks and there was excitement. So I just forgot I had a husband. Like that's never, I just can't, I don't understand this logic. Because that's what it is. It was like we were in a room and there were fireworks outside. It's like, I just, oh, I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed, but I think it's really funny. And then all of a sudden, Johnny was like, "What are they doing?" Because like they hook up, Willow and Michael.
Yes.
I'm
I was
like,
like, oh
yeah. I'm like, yeah, they're really guilty, and she's just trying to prove herself. And he's just like, "Oopsie poopies, I slept with your best friend."
yeah.
Oh,
So this will
so
erase 2 kisses and
yeah, they're
an
trying.
illegitimate baby.
I'm like, that's not an undo button. It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
Neither
And
one
this
of
is
them.
and this is so messed up, right? Because all of this stuff is happening, and I was surprised. I'm like, and then Carly comes over to talk to Drew, and I was like, this is so
Yes.
awkward because it's like it would have been weird. You know what I mean? Like, like obviously they wrote it in a way to keep the focus on Sam, but there
Yes.
easily could have been a miscommunication about like, did you hear what happened?
Ooh, yeah, that's
So
true.
I was
That's
like,
true.
this is so weird. Like all of this stuff happening like at the same time. But
Hmm.
honestly, I think Sasha should just be like proud of herself and super grateful that she slept with someone that she wasn't related to.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that's so funny. And I can't believe they went through with it. Like, it's just so weird. It's like you understand that you're writing it. Like, you didn't have to write it that way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could have easily, honestly, made a story where there weren't any kissing cousins. Like, that was also an option.
I I can't even I can't
Do you know
find
what
the
I thought it
words.
was? Do you know what
What?
I thought it was?
What?
Because of like Lulu, they're bringing back, I don't know, like Lulu's in a coma, whatever. But they're like doing that whole thing. I was like, is this an ode to Lulu? Because the last time relatives kissed on the show, it was Lulu and Ethan.
Oh my God.
So when Ethan came to town, he didn't tell Lulu, "Hey, I'm your half brother."
Hmm.
So she kissed him and he pulled away and was like, "Yeah." And then she was like, "Oh, you rejected me." And he's like, "Well, yeah, I try not to kiss my sister." So that's why I was like, the timing is interesting because that was the last time it happened. I don't think it should happen that many times though.
No,
Just generally, like
never.
in my lifetime, I don't think that many relatives under a hospital should be kissing.
No.
Yeah.
Like I was reading some, it might have been on our board, but I was reading like so many different like comments throughout the week just to like make sure people were feeling the same as I was feeling. And like some people like maybe Robert and Mac are not related truly
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And then I
Yeah.
also read stuff about, maybe Holly negotiated with Brennan because they keep talking about how charismatic she is and how persuasive she is. And maybe she's going to give up Sidwell or maybe she found her way into the WSB lab through Brennan to change the results. So I am still holding out hope.
Because it's just too brutal. Like I was actually happy that Sasha had that scene where she was able to list all the horrible things that happened in her life
Oh my
that her mom
gosh,
wasn't
right? And then
for.
Holly comes back to Robert and their love, and I love that Sasha was like, "Are you effing kidding me right now?"
Yeah, I could have when she said that. She literally talked about all the times her life imploded. She's like,
Yeah,
I may have lost the love of my life. I'm like, the guy you willingly ditched time and again.
right?
Like you have every option to like pursue him. And over the years, you just chose not to. And you think this is the time to bring it up.
My sadness for Sam turned into a rage for Holly.
Yeah, like I just can't with Holly walking around being like, "Oh, do you think you can get her to talk to me?" I'm like, "But you were completely fine with not talking her for years. Like you
Exactly.
actively went out of your way to like not be in touch with your daughter."
Yep.
So, I think you can just cut the crap. I mean, something that did make me happy this week were the Maxi Cody scenes. Like, I love that she was like, I have like people to look at this face, people tell me things. And she says, I don't drink and tell, but that she happened to know all the secrets. I
Yes.
absolutely like loved her this week. And I love the nod because when her daughter came out in the costume, I'm like, that's
Yes.
Maxi. Johnny's like, what do you mean? I'm like, she was on a show when she was a kid. And
It
that's
was
what
a movie. There's
that,
like three
yeah.
movies. I watched it with the girls. Adorable.
How cute. So I definitely love that. But even that was hurt to watch because she's there
Right?
having this really cute family moment. They're like, supporting their teenage daughter who's struggling with, what her friends are telling her and trying to
Mm.
enjoy this. But like in my head, I'm like, what is gonna happen when Maxie and Spinelli
Oh
find
boy.
them?
I can't. It was so, oh my gosh, it was so hard. So hard.
Yeah, I just can't. Also, something that I just couldn't tolerate this week was, or just in the past few weeks, was how everybody who worked to get Heather off is shocked that Heather got off.
Oh my gosh, you made me laugh so hard with the post because like it's exactly what I was thinking. And then when Laura had her seat, I'm like, no, but like really, like what's happening right now?
I was like, where did I put that conversation? I'm like, I know I posted that clip of our podcast where we were making fun of Laura trying to defend
Yes.
what she did. And when she was like, I can't help but feel like I got the ball rolling. I'm like, you literally took the ball and shoved it like hard. You threw it. You hit a bullseye. You really set this in motion. You talked to many people about it. Heather had to tell you to stop. Heather.
Yes.
And so then they took away Heather also. I mean, we always know
Oh
that
my,
Heather, I
oh.
love when she said,
Yep.
whispered to she'll be
I'll
back.
be back.
That was like seriously, that that like scary whisper was the most comforting thing that GH has provided over the last 2 weeks, couple weeks. That was the
Honestly,
most
something that
comforting thing.
felt normal. I was happy about that.
Yeah, I'm like, I know how everyone feels about Heather, but I'm like, yeah, please come back. Like, I need that. And then like Steven out of nowhere, he's like probably the only character on soap opera history who's actually did their time. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually did the full 10 years or more than that that he had to do in jail. Only character. Everybody else has like a weird, like, oh, you can get out of jail super
Yes.
early. Oh, we'll find a mayor to excuse you, but not Steven. Not Steven. He just had to be in jail for a really long time. His mom never served like the same
Exactly.
amount of time that he did. And I'm pretty sure he killed one person, and I think they were just a bad person.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah. Another moment I appreciated was Lucky and Laura explaining. That's what makes me go like, hey, that's our bit. We explain the depth of someone's trauma back at them. So when she had that conversation with Lucky, it was really fascinating hearing her because, like, again, his life, like, it's like legendary. Luke and Laura just on the run, and Lucky grew up, and it's just like, yeah, stuff of legends. And Laura was like, yeah, so stuff of neglect, completely irresponsible parenting. I actually don't think it was healthy to be on the run with you when you were
Right?
formative years. So so the fact that she reframed, like, yeah, you did make choices and you did miss out on things in your life in terms of like your kid's life, but running is your home. Like some people actually go home to their childhood home, or they
Yes.
like go home to their parents to kind of regroup. And she's basically just trying to say like, we didn't give you this stable home, so you regrouping. Your sense of home is just out there surviving. Sorry. I forgot to tell you sooner
Right?
that this is what you did. I hope this helps.
I don't know, but I really hope they don't, exactly like what you said earlier, that they don't do to Lucky what they're doing with Jason. That like we do see him stick around, that he makes plans with his son, that he hangs out. Like I love it's so magical when him and Elizabeth are in a scene together, that she came back to spend time with him instead of like scrolling on her phone. Like there's magic there.
Oh, there's history.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like uh to kind of wrap this up, this very depressing episode. There was a moment though, like how we say we like look for all of these like little moments to like help us through the sadness.
Yeah.
And I could hear your little voice beside me with the with the Anna Jason Spinelli scene. And when she called Spinelli the jackal, I all I could hear you say is, "Oh, you're cool, mom now."
100%. 100%.
Oh,
I
cool
was
cop, sorry,
like,
cool cop.
yeah, I was like, oh, you're cool today. I was just like, it's just, I couldn't. I couldn't with that because Spinelli had it right. He's like, not you. You're not part of the crew.
Yeah.
And then her BS with Brennan. Can you do
Oh
the
my
right thing for
word.
once? I'm like, he's always helping you. Like, actually, they've been showing his office more than they show you at your own job because
Right?
you're not at your job. You're constantly interrupting his job. And I couldn't believe how he went at her.
Yes, I loved it.
I was like, what? He called her on like giving Valentina a heads up that had she not done that, Charlotte would have been right here.
It's
He even said
amazing.
something like, "Are you having regrets about the girl you shot in the dark?" or something like that. I was like,
Oh my God.
like she deserved it, but like, yeah, because she's just not being super realistic, and then telling him
Exactly.
he doesn't get what altruism is. I'm like, neither do you.
Right? Oh my
Like, it
word,
was
that
even
woman.
funny. It was even funny when I watched her like confront Holly. It was hilarious. It was like, okay, so Anna is telling Holly she makes bad decisions.
Okay,
She's like,
then you know it's so bad. If Anna's judging you on your decisions, you must be like real low.
yeah, she's like, I abandoned my kid, but not as long as you abandon yours. What's the matter with
Uh-huh.
you? Yeah, I lied about him having a kid, but not as long as you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You should just leave town. I was like, is she the only one? No? Okay. Just like, oh, it didn't help.
I'm sorry. I tried. I tried. Do
It's
you have any
okay.
favorite lines?
I think I had said some of my favorite lines, but I do have a favorite moment. It was Laura and Alexis's face when they were talking with Heather, and Heather was saying that she was leaving, and Laura was like,
Yes.
"How long?" So like I think that moment of them together was really cute, but that's the thing, right? Like you watch Laura and Alexis bond,
Yes.
and that was cut the moment Laura was sitting beside her, like, and then something like this shouldn't have happened, and Alexa's like, no, it shouldn't have. And it's true, like it sucks, but like Laura understood that this is not her place right now, and they kind of
Yes,
replaced Laura with like Sam's people.
exactly.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad. Like I don't even know. Like, and honestly, I don't want any other stories. I just want them to like focus on this.
I know, like, do not give me Holly in the middle of all of this,
I
please.
like, how was I supposed to focus like on
Right?
this? You're so important to me. Blah blah blah. Are you leaving yet? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Okay,
Oh yeah.
there's one more Holly thing I have to say. One more that I thought was really funny. It was when she was talking to Sasha and cuts her off by saying, "I lost the love of my life." Again,
Mm-hmm.
someone you tossed aside time and again. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, the difference is that like Sasha's husband died. He didn't just
Right?
die for 15
Oh,
years, right?
oh
Like
yeah.
I was just like, you have no idea what's happening. Like her husband died and then she hooked up with her first cousin. That's her moving on. And you're like, "Oh, I don't know. I think Robert's mad at me." Like what? Like what?
Oh, so weird. So weird. Okay. We did it. We
Uh,
we
sorry.
covered all the things. Did we cover all of the things?
Honestly, does anything matter anymore?
See, this is the
I'm
problem,
sorry. I'm
right?
sorry. I talked. I shouldn't have talked. I shouldn't have talked. Should have talked. Because like you were
um,
doing it. You were ending it. You were like, "Oh." And then I did
yeah.
that. Okay, good note. Positive. No, I can't do it.
I will continue talking now.
Yeah.
It was a really tough week, honestly. Like we're trying to make light, but we really did kind of voice our opinion on how we feel. We've never actually felt this way before, and I think that it's going to be hard next week. It's going to be hard for the next couple of weeks, and I think we have to be truthful. We've always been truthful on this podcast. And Kelly, Monica, we're so appreciative of all of the years you've given us, all of the joy, all of the story, all of the acting. You did not stop like until the very end. You just gave us everything that was left in you, and I am just happy to have seen her on screen for all this time.
Yes, and actually I do have one moment that I could say that's positive. Okay? That's what I'm gonna go with.
Okay.
Like when she got wheeled away for the surgery and she did that rock on sign, I loved it
Yes.
because that's not Sam. That's not Sam's character. That was straight up Kelly Monaco, and I loved it.
Oh,
Loved
that's
it. Loved it.
love it so much. Oh my gosh, folks. I hope you can try to enjoy the weekend. That's a wrap, folks. Bye.
Bye.